Hey, I'm Tommy Akridge and welcome back to my shop. My last video you saw me hollow this out with my hollowing tool. This week I'm going to show you how I put the finish on it, and on my next video you'll see me do the whole complete process of building this, so stick around. Here you see first of a few coats of sanding sealer. You see I worked the sanding sealer in down deep in it and just let it soak it up. I want to get it down in it and just let that wood just soak it up. And here you see me polishing it up after a light coating with 600 grit. Paper towel is an awesome way to polish your wood. I mean, it's just like sandpaper, and it is wood. And I always buff my pieces with the paper towel. It always just seems to bring out the grain, and it also helps you see the scratches and other defects that you need to get out of your piece. So that's what's going on here. And then I'm going to glue my lid on here. This is a piece of Brazilian ebony, and I'm going to glue this on and finish my interior after I get this glued on. And see, I've got it here. I've got it off the lathe, and this is just another coat of sanding sealer after I've sanded and polished it down and got it smooth. I did 3 coats like this and sanded in between and got it all buffed out. And you'll see on my last coat I'll buff it out and get ready for the lacquer. I had this little hollow crack in it, and I took some of that Brazilian ebony, the dust from it, and I'm going to CA glue this in there. I wanted that little black line in there to kind of highlight that crack. So that's what I did here, and I taped it off so I don't have to glue it on a whole piece. And then I'm going to sand it down. I've got 3 coats of sanding sealer on this, and I'll sand it down and put a little more finish on it. Here you see me smoothing this out. And once I get through with all this, get a little more sanding sealer on that one little spot, get it all polished up, and then we'll get on to the lacquer. Before I do that lacquer finish, I'm going to go over this whole piece with some light. I'm looking for any tiny small crack or scratch or anything that's going to be a defect in my finish. If you look real close in the light, you can see little bitty swirl marks or something. This is the time to get it out. And I'm also, you see I'm doing it with the grain. It's easier to get these out if you sand with the grain. So that's the reason I'm not spinning this. I'm sanding it by hand. Now I'm going to polish it back up with paper towel, then I'll take a look again and see if I see any more spots. This will be the first of 7 coats. The first 5 coats I put on here, they will be sanded. Here's the second coat. And I'll sand this down wet sanding. You'll see it in the next part. And I do all this wet sanding. I start out at 600 and I'll go to 2000 grit. And you wet sand over and over and over again. What you want to do is you want this as smooth as you can. You'll see when you're sanding this and you dry it off paper towel, you can see the highs and lows, the orange peel effect they call it. You can see that, and you want to get that out of that. You want to get that as smooth as possible. And wet sanding, it just does a better job. And you can see in here, you can still see some of the orange peeling. you'll see a high gloss spot and a dull spot. And that means that the dull is where you sanded, the high gloss spot is a low spot. You want to sand all that out as best you can and try to get that smooth. Now I'll sand this down and get it all the way down, and then I'll put 2 more coats of lacquer on it, and then I'll take it back and I'll do this again. This is going to get me down to my finish. What you're doing right now, you're actually sanding lacquer back off of it. So I'll sand this back down. At this time, put 2 coats of lacquer on it. I'm going to sand it one more time like this, and then I'll go to the polish stage. This is pretty boring, ain't it? This is why most people in their videos, they never show you sanding. Never, ever, ever, ever. You know, most people want to see what I do, so I'm going to do this. If you want to skip ahead, go ahead. But I'm up to 800 now, and I'll get to 1200 and then 2000. So it's boring, but if you want to watch, you can watch. If not, you can skip ahead a little bit. You really think you're just sanding it up, you're messing your piece up, but you can see you polish this back out with a paper towel and it gets pretty shiny again. It's not as damaged as you think. And you know, once you get up to this 2000 grit and you do it with the paper towel, I mean, it's really, really shiny because 2000 grit, you know, you're really getting out the small, small details. And here you'll see I'll polish it back out with that paper towel, and you'll see just how shiny it is right after that. And then I'm fixing to put 2 more coats of lacquer on it and do all this sanding again. So. And now starts the buffing process. This is a very rewarding time. You really see how much the work you put in this piece comes to life. It really, really shines out good. And this is when you get very proud of the work you do. You know, it was a lot of effort, a lot of time spent, a lot of coats, a lot of sanding. But truly, to see this in person, you're really, really impressed with it. You see how shiny it is and the depth of the shine. And it's a very, very rewarding piece, and it warrants being a piece of art. Okay, there it is. It's got a lot of lacquer on it. It's had a lot of sanding. I sanded it down to 2000 grit twice. You You can hardly see anything, any ripples or anything, and it's just a remarkable finish. And, you know, lacquer is a pretty hard finish. I mean, that's what they put on cars, so you kind of just treat it like you do cars when you wet sand and polish. So I just, like I did, I buffed it out on the wheel on the last bit and just polished it up. So I think it turned out nice, and stick around on the next video and I'll show you how I built the whole thing. So thanks for watching.